How's it going, everyone? Time to make another prediction video on the 2015 MLB season. Last week I did the National League West and the American League West. This week I'm going to focus on the American League Central and the National League Central. So with the American League Central, we have the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Indians, the Kansas City Royals, and the Minnesota Twins. First of all, the reigning AL American League champions are in that division, the Kansas City Royals. Very good team. Had a very good spring. They did pretty good. Then you have Detroit, always a pretty decent team. Cleveland, mediocre last year. Minnesota was pretty bad. And then the White Sox were pretty mediocre as well. I mean, there's not a whole lot of analysis I can provide on these, or in this division, other than the fact that I believe that Cleveland and Detroit are the two best teams. It's just a matter of who's going to finish first and who's going to finish second, to me. That's just in my opinion. I think that with everyone that Detroit has lost recently, I think that they don't have as much of an upper hand as the Royals do. I think the Royals have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, actually, because of last year's World Series. I know Kansas City lost a few guys last year, Aoki, Billy Butler, but I mean they still have their core guys there. They got Musaka still there. Infante, Hosmer's still there, Lorenzo Cain. I think that their core's still there, and like I said, they had a pretty good spring. So I mean, I see them going far again this year. I think they can make it back to the World Series, to be honest. And obviously there's going to be a few bumps in the road, but I think I think Kansas City is going to win the division. I think Detroit will come in close, but I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. So I think Kansas City first, Detroit second, and I think the White Sox probably come in third. They made a couple good additions over there. Samardzij's over there now, and I mean, they added a couple offensive pieces there. I think they have what it takes to come in third at least. And then I'd say Cleveland in fourth. They have a couple good pitchers over there, a decent offense too. So I think third and fourth could be a complete toss-up, honestly. And then Minnesota, I don't see them getting much better from last year. They might get a little better, but I don't see them getting a whole lot better from last year. It's just one of those things. I just don't think they will have enough muster to make the playoffs this year, so I think they'll come in fifth. So with that being said, Kansas City 1, Detroit 2, Chicago White Sox 3, Cleveland Indians 4, and Minnesota Twins 5. Alright, let me shift over to the National League Central. We have the Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and St. Louis Cardinals. The past couple years, this has been the hardest division in baseball. I remember it was actually last year, the whole division was fighting for a playoff spot except for the Cubs. And that was really significant. Or that was 2 years ago. I can't remember which, but yeah, that was pretty significant. That was a really good teams in that division. They still are. They're really still is. Cincinnati has a lot of good personnel. They look great on paper, but for some reason they just couldn't get enough wins last year to make the playoffs. Milwaukee was the best team in baseball at one time. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. Pittsburgh made it to the wild card game, and they lost to the Giants, who went on to be the World Series champions. The Cubs last year, one of the worst teams in baseball, unfortunately. And then the St. Louis Cardinals, they went to the National League Championship Series. So, really good teams here. Honestly, to me, in my opinion, it could really be a toss-up of first place between Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Just for the sake of hoping that something changes, I think Pittsburgh's going to take first place. But honestly, the Cardinals could easily take first place. But then you look at a team like Cincinnati, and you look at them on paper, and they have like just some great players over there, and it just puzzles me as to why this team can't make the playoffs. I mean, this is the last year I think this core group of guys is going to be together, honestly. I know Cueto, one of the best National League pitchers, is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. So I think if they're going to make the playoffs, they got to do it this year, honestly. I don't know what else to say. And the Cubs, they've made some good additions this year. They really have. One of the best young first basemen in the league, Anthony Rizzo's over there. Starlin Castro's pretty decent. I don't know how much longer he'll be there. Chris Bryant, a really young, great prospect. And Junior Lake. You know, just some good players over there. Obviously, they added John Lester, and we all know he's one of the best pitchers in the game. I think this team could finish top 3 at least. But with that being said, I think Pittsburgh will be first, St. Louis will be second. But like I said, that could easily flop. Really, it could. St. Louis could win the division by 10 games this year. Honestly, they look pretty good. And then I'd say Chicago Cubs come in third based on the changes they've made. Little motivation, new manager. And then I'd say fourth would probably be Cincinnati, honestly. I feel like they just don't have enough to get it done this year again. And then fifth, I would say, is Milwaukee. They're on a downward spiral, really. They're going to have to start entering their rebuilding stage, I think. I mean, they have some good players. They can obviously build around Carlos Gomez, Ryan Braun. I don't know if that's kind of questionable. But they have some young talent there that I think they can develop and be a better team, honestly. But I just don't see them making the playoffs this year. So with that being said, Pittsburgh Pirates first, St. Louis Cardinals second, Chicago Cubs third, fourth is the Cincinnati Reds, and fifth is the Milwaukee Brewers. This is just my opinion as a fan of the game. I could be completely wrong, but we'll just have to go out there and see what happens. Hopefully it's a good year, everyone stays healthy. Pray that God blesses all these players, helps them to perform their best, and we'll just have to see what happens out there.